Well, we appreciate everybody coming out, today. I know it was a little bit of short notice, but, I said before that we really take pride in trying to do a really good job of helping our players gather the information that they need to make a good, sound, solid business decision about what is best for their future. One of the goals here for us is for guys to develop a career off the field by graduating from school, and as well as be the best football player that you can be and see if you can develop a career as a football player and do a great job at the University of Alabama, win a championship, but see if you can play at the next level. And we're very fortunate that we have a number of guys who have done a good job in that area and have an opportunity to do other things. But I have a tremendous amount of respect for the maturity that each and every one of our players who have gone through this process with us this year, 4 of which you've already talked to and Mark today, have done this with a great deal of thought, a great deal of direction, gathered the information that they needed to gather to make a good, sound, solid decision about, what their future is. And, as I've said before, that I know all of our fans out there want each and every one of these guys to continue to represent the University of Alabama. And in some cases it works that way, but in some cases it's actually personally beneficial to guys to be able to go to and move on. So, Mark has done a great job with his family and has a great support with the people around him. He has some unusual circumstances that made it more difficult, I think, for him to make a decision this year relative to the injury, the strike that may be pending, all kinds of different things. But we're really pleased with the decision that he's made and the process that he used to come up with that decision. So as all the other players have done, showed great maturity and being great ambassadors for the University of Alabama when they were here, and showed great maturity in how they went about making the decision for their future as football players. So with that, I'm going to let Mark come up and visit with you.
First off, I put a lot of time into this decision, and it was really one of the hardest decisions I ever had to make, and I feel like I made the right one. I want to thank my mom and my uncle, and the rest of my family for helping me make the decision. I want to thank Coach Saban, and the whole entire coaching staff, and I want to thank him for all his, using all his sources to help me gain all the information that I can, and get closer to, as close as I think I could to making the right decision. And it was a lot of pros and cons to, going into the situation, and the pros were coming back. They was, I'm gonna get closer to, my degree. We could bring home another national championship, and I would hopefully be able to, improve my draft stock and hopefully be a top 10, top 15 pick next year. And but in terms of the plan for the draft, it's always been my dream to play in the NFL and to give back to my family. But after weighing the pros and cons, the pros, they really did not outweigh the cons. So, it's my decision to come back for my senior year and play for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Roll Tide.
Coach, take a couple questions, and then we'll make Mark available.
Anybody have any questions? And then we'll let Mark be available.
Just, do you anticipate any other juniors declaring for the deadline tonight?
No, I think that in all of our communication, we had several other guys that we did some research on and due diligence, but as far as I know, everybody's all set to come back.
I'm sorry to bring this up, but there was a report that Sal Sinceri had talked to Denver about possibly, coaching job.
You know what? I think you all need to get a life when it comes to all this stuff that people put on the internet. Sal Sinceri would come to me. I know John Fox very well. Sal has worked for John Fox. Sal would come to me and tell me if he had been contacted, as all of our coaches have done, and that has not occurred. Now, that's not to say it might not occur, but it has not occurred to this point. But I am not going to respond to rumor and innuendo relative to staff. And I have never been any place, and I want to make this very clear to you all, because it's really not fair to our coaches and it's not fair to our recruiting, that every time somebody puts something on the internet, you all write it and put an article in the paper like it really is true. You should verify things before you write them, especially in a newspaper. That's the professionalism that you all are supposed to have. Anybody can put anything on the internet.
Chris?
I'm sorry you asked that too, because I was in a really good mood.
How tough would it have been for Mark to go through a draft process with the injury that he had when he would have been limited, obviously, for like the combine and so forth?
You know, Mark has been a great player for us, a great player, and has been as productive as any player on our team. That is including the guys that are going out for the draft. Not only in terms of the tackles that he's made, the interceptions that he's made, but the leadership that he provided, and being selected captain, you know, by his teammates as a junior, I think is, you know, really goes a long way. Because anytime your teammates sort of pick you for anything, that's not like the coach picking you. All right, that's like, this is for real, man. Everybody has a tremendous amount of respect and trust in this guy for who he is, what he is, how he affects the team, and how he affects everybody on the team. So saying all that to say this, that I think two things probably were factors here. You know, Mark's draft status relative to how he could affect his draft status as he could work out with the injury in a timely fashion. But also with the circumstance out there in terms of the labor situation, any team that would draft an injured player would want that player to be a part of their organization so that they could continue to rehab that guy and make sure that he would be able to play the next year. So the combination of those two things probably would not work for Mark being able to enhance his status in the draft. And there's no question about the fact that he could move up significantly by coming back, because Mark has made great improvement every year that he's been here in the program. We laughed about it yesterday when we were talking about it when he was a freshman, what we went through just to get lined up to understand what to do, and how productive he became as a sophomore player playing on the national championship team. And then this year he becomes the leader of the team and the leader in the secondary with all new players in the secondary. He's the only guy that had any previous experience, and the great job that he did of helping all those guys play better. So every year he's made a significant improvement, and he's going to do the same thing next year, and that's going to really, I think, propel him into being probably the top player at his position next year, and in a much better circumstance for him to sort of take advantage of that.
Anything else? Back to Travis.
Just want to ask about Mark's availability looking towards the spring and what that might be like.
Well, I think, you know, we're looking at, you know, Mark's finally out of a sling. He is doing rehab. I think, you know, this is, we're going back to December on this, but so he's probably a month probably out of surgery now. Probably has another 2 months of rehab. And I think Mark's going to be able to do some things from a running standpoint, you know, maybe before that time. But when you have this type of injury, you don't want to put yourself in position to re-injure that, as well as, you know, you could even re-injure it by falling down. So these are all things that our medical staff are going to have to work through. I do think Mark would be able to participate to some degree, at least in the physical movement part, if not in the contact part of spring practice, which will be the end of March and April. So we're talking about being 4 months out, you know, then, you know, pretty close. And but this is all going to be determined by the medical staff on how he progresses and how he goes day to day. And this is not a decision that I make; it's a decision that our medical staff makes.
And
And then, I know you're going to have a big recruiting weekend. Can you just talk about the importance of this time in recruiting and kind of finishing
Well, not being allowed to talk about specific recruits, you know, we absolutely want to recruit the best character quality people that we can, that are the best students, that have the best opportunity to help us have a successful program and continue to have a successful program. And we have a lot of guys that are certainly in that category who have, you know, sort of announced that they'd like to come to Alabama. And we also have a lot of guys that we're still recruiting relative to that. And hopefully, you know, by getting a few of those guys, it'll really finish and round out this class in a positive way. All right, thank you.